Next on Currents News, the stirring story of Catholic faith overcoming disaster in Nashville. Tonight, we have exclusive coverage from the scene of the storm.
I thought we were dead.
But he survived the deadly tornado and is now counting on God to help him rebuild. The National Guard is being deployed to New Rochelle, the Westchester community that's ground zero for the coronavirus outbreak in New York. Pope Francis is praying priests have the courage to visit the sick as the disease hits Italy hard. Plus, the polls in this country will soon be closing in what's shaping up to be a make or break day for the Democrats who want to be president. The news starts right now.
It's gone for good. It'll never come back.
His home is gone and everything inside with it. Still, Nick Spiegel is carrying on and keeping his faith. Good evening. I'm Christine Persichetti. The Catholic man is now rebuilding his life. In the blink of an eye, it all changed when a tornado ripped through the heart of Nashville. Currents News' Emily Drewby met Nick while she was in Tennessee. She joins us now with the exclusive story. Emily.
Christine, in Nashville, at least 395 homes were completely destroyed or heavily damaged. I spoke with Nick now that his home is one of them.
There used to be a big sign here, Vista Germantown.
Germantown, one of the Nashville neighborhoods hit hardest by the deadly tornadoes.
This street looked like a war zone.
A sobering sight. Nick's beloved neighborhood reduced to rubble.
It's really affected so many lives here.
The Catholic man was in his home when the storm hit.
It was just a roar, and it was an explosion, just like a bomb went off. It was sound of a freight train coming through. I thought we were dead. I just thought we were dead.
The next few minutes will stay with Nick for the rest of his life.
The patio door, the big 6070 patio door, is flying through our living room. So my wife goes from the bed to the bathtub. I followed her and I tried to go out the other door to the living room from the bathroom instead of from the bedroom. And she just pulled me back. That probably saved my life.
Minutes that created so much destruction.
This is on the top floor of the parking garage, and the cars have just been strewing around just like toys.
His apartment complex has been condemned, extensive repairs are necessary, and the future is uncertain, displacing Nick and over 500 others. Luckily, no one was seriously injured. He and his wife stayed at a temporary shelter immediately after the tornadoes. Now they're in a hotel.
Everything's ruined. There's so much water damage and glass.
Nick is slowly rebuilding his life, but he says it'll never be the same.
I feel like we'd had a blessed life, blessed experience here, and it's gone for good. It'll never come back.
Nick says the only thing he and his family have left are their memories and their faith, which he says after this ordeal is stronger than ever. Christine.
Wow, what a story. You said Germantown was one of the worst hit neighborhoods. Where else did the tornado hit?
Yeah, Christine, North Nashville neighborhoods, some of them that we saw were decimated. We took some of this video here. You can see entire neighborhoods were taken out by this storm. In East Nashville, it was also hit really hard too. It's been an up and coming area for a while with a lot of bars and entertainment. That's actually the neighborhood where 2 people were killed. We also shot this video in Donaldson, which was also hit hard. There's a popular Christian academy out there that was completely destroyed. The school has been closed until further notice. Christine.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Emily. Stay with Currents News for more of Emily's exclusive coverage from Nashville, including a look at the damage inside the historic Church of the Assumption. And still ahead in this newscast.
Beauty from the ashes that we've been in.
Acts of human kindness give a Tennessee woman her freedom back after the tornado disaster. The moving story is coming up. The first coronavirus death in New Jersey is being reported tonight. The victim is a man in his 60s from Bergen County who traveled between New Jersey and New York. At the same time, Governor Andrew Cuomo is deploying the National Guard to New Rochelle. The troops will establish a containment zone around the Westchester community.
New Rochelle at this point is probably the largest cluster in the United States of these cases. And it is a significant issue for us.
The Guard will be on station starting Thursday. Their prime roles will be to clean schools and deliver food to quarantined residents. The area is a 1-mile radius centered around a synagogue believed to be at the center of the cluster. Schools and other large gathering places will be closed for 2 weeks beginning Thursday. Classes at St. John's University, Fordham, and other New York colleges are being canceled because of the virus. Instead, St. John's students will learn their lessons online. Currents News' Tim Harfman is standing by at the university's campus in Jamaica, Queens. Tim.
Christine, students here at St. John's were just returning to campus from spring break. Now they're going back home due to the outbreak.
Students are packing up and heading home.
It's been really hectic.
Why?
Everybody's on the phone with their moms, calling, saying the coronavirus is canceling schools. It's been crazy.
St. John's University canceling classes on all of its campuses as a precaution over the coronavirus. Lessons will be learned online beginning Thursday till at least March 27th.
It's like a ghost town. Like, no one's here.
I didn't even know the classes were canceled today, actually. So I was actually just going to my acting class, and I went in the theater. The entire theater was dark, and I was like, hold up, something ain't right.
Freshman Javay Young White is lucky he travels from Brooklyn. Other students, like Esmeralda Nieves, have a much longer commute. She's leaving the Queens campus and driving back to Richmond, Virginia.
I just wish they did it sooner because I was here for 1 day.
Classes just resumed yesterday following spring break.
It's pretty frustrating. I feel like it was foreseen and it could have been announced earlier.
St. John's is one of several Catholic universities and colleges in our area putting plans in place. Fordham University, Mount St. Vincent, and Manhattan College have canceled classes too. Students understand the precaution.
Just because it's New York City, there's so many people that they have to be safe.
You can't ever be too safe, but there is a lot of overreacting.
And university officials say they'll keep parents and students updated by email and through the St. John's website. In Jamaica, Queens, Tim Harfman, Currents News. Christine, back to you.
Tim, what about the students who can't make it home because of travel arrangements?
Well, students can be approved to stay on campus. The dining hall will be open and students can live in their dorms. But again, the university is highly recommending that everyone go back home, Christine.
All right, thank you, Tim. First responders who worked at Ground Zero after 9/11 are at greater risk of contracting the virus. Many of them and survivors of the terrorist attack already suffer from lung damage caused when they breathed in toxins after the Twin Towers collapsed. The head of the city's public health system, Dr. Mitchell Katz, says he's worried about people from the World Trade Center attack. Anyone with existing lung disease, heart disease, or compromised immune systems are at a higher risk of being infected with coronavirus. President Trump is looking at a possible payroll tax cut to boost the economy that's being hammered by the coronavirus outbreak. He talked about it at the White House briefing last night.
Possible payroll tax cut or relief. We're also going to be talking about hourly wage earners getting help.
Trump took his plan to Capitol Hill today when he had lunch with Republican senators. While he was pitching his ideas to the GOP, Democrats countered with calls for more unemployment insurance, plus paid sick leave and treatment for those who can't afford medical help. China's President Xi Jinping visiting Wuhan this morning for the first time since the global virus outbreak erupted there late last year. The city of 11 million residents has been largely under lockdown for 7 weeks. Nearly all of China's deaths have happened in the area. Xi's appearance comes as China reported only 19 new cases of infection anywhere in the country. At the Vatican, St. Peter's Square and the Basilica have been shut down. The Italian police making the move after the government extended quarantine measures across Italy. The cops are blocking people from going in except for work purposes. While the Vatican city-state is a separate country, Italian police have jurisdiction over St. Peter's Square. At the same time, Pope Francis is praying for courage.
Preghiamo il Signore anche per I nostri sacerdoti, perché abbiano il coraggio di uscire e andare dagli ammalati portando la forza della parola di Dio e l'Eucaristia.
The Holy Father is also writing a personal letter to the people of northern Italy, where the virus outbreak is worst. He describes suffering there as a reason for Christian hope because he says in these moments, God is speaking to us. And stay with us. Brooklyn's Monsignor Guy Massey is coming up. He'll look at the important issues facing Catholics that stem from the virus epidemic. That's still ahead in this newscast. Today is Super Tuesday 2, and voting is still underway in this crucial primary. Joe Biden started the day with more delegates than Senator Bernie Sanders, but voters in 6 states are heading to the polls, including in Michigan, which has 125 delegates up for grabs. Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard is also on the ballot, but she has not been polling well. Meanwhile, Senator Sanders is rolling out his abortion plan. He says if elected, he'll use his Medicare for All policy to increase access to abortion nationwide and roll back limits on state funding for the procedure. According to Sanders' Reproductive Health Care and Justice for All plan, which is on his website, he believes abortion is a constitutional right. A new development tonight that's producing a long-awaited settlement of a dispute involving a Queens Catholic high school. Christ the King in Middle Village will continue to use most of its property as a Catholic high school. At the same time, the Diocese of Brooklyn and school officials have decided that the operation of a charter school and community daycare will be permitted. In a joint statement, the parties said they're looking forward to keeping alive the Catholic Church's mission and fostering the spiritual and educational growth of students and their families. There's a lot more news headed your way. A wonderful story of human charity. In the wake of that deadly tornado in Tennessee, a woman's freedom is being restored. A giant sporting goods chain is taking action over guns. The move is happening nationwide. Decision Day is hours away for a prominent Catholic cardinal. He'll be in court for a big decision. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back.
God would send someone to, or a way for us to get another van.
Brittany Overfield's prayers are answered, and her life, shattered by the Tennessee tornado, is being renewed. That's thanks to some generous strangers who banded together to raise money to buy the disabled woman a new van after hers was demolished by the twister. Neighbors helping each other out after the storm.
I love it. This is like beauty from the ashes that we've been in.
Not only was their home ripped to shreds by the tornado, the special van this Tennessee family uses to get their special needs daughter around was also destroyed.
Since everything has come crashing down, I've just been worried about, how, we were going to get another one.
Brittany Overfield has been wheelchair bound since an accident in 2017 left her paralyzed. Her family saved for months to get a van. After hearing it was destroyed, the community stepped up to raise some $34,000 for a new one.
Just praying that God would send someone to, or a way for us to get another van. And that's what y'all have done. Y'all have answered, our prayers.
It's more than just a van for this 24-year-old. It's a part of her life that lets her escape.
Like without having my legs, and being able to walk, we're pretty much stuck in here all the time.
Now the focus is on their home that lays in pieces. But Brittany says through her faith and the people who are helping, their family and others will get through this.
And there's always going to be people who you would least expect to come and be that light for you and to help you in your time of need.
Nashville musicians are also helping in this time of need. A benefit concert was held last night called To Nashville with Love. All of the proceeds will go to recovery efforts. The largest sporting goods retailer in the U.S. is going to end gun sales at over 400 stores nationwide. Dick's Sporting Goods announcing the move today. It follows a series of decisions to scale back firearm sales. After the 2018 Parkland school shooting, Dick's stopped offering semi-automatic weapons. The company is treating the total elimination of gun sales as a multi-year initiative. It will be a big day in court tomorrow for Australian Cardinal George Pell. The final appeal of his sexual abuse conviction is going before the country's highest court. Pell at one time had been a top-ranking Vatican official. The national correspondent for The Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, joins us now. Chris, thanks for joining us.
A pleasure to be with you, Christine.
Cardinal Pell's appeal could have a range of outcomes. Can you walk us through some of them?
Yeah, so there are really sort of three different paths that could happen tomorrow in court. One, they could hear the appeal and say he doesn't even have standing to appeal the case. Secondly, they could say the appeal can go through, but it's denied. Or they can say the appeal is heard, and then it's upheld, and they greenlight it. So, you know, all sorts of options are on the table. So it's going to be a very interesting few days.
All right, so what's expected to happen? Who's speaking, and how long will these proceedings last?
Yeah, so we're going to have 2 days is what it's scheduled for right now. But there, again, a lot of questions remain.
Right.
We don't know if it will be 5 or 7 judges. The Australian court system allows for, you know, various different sort of structures and systems for these cases. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow when the curtain goes up on the appeal. Mainly what's going to happen is that the prosecution is going to relitigate their case against George Pell, and the defense for Pell will once more sort of make their defense, basing it on the previous appeal on the original decision. So they're going to sort of relook at that, and in that decision, an appeals court held 2-1 that he was guilty. And so they're going to be singularly focusing on the arguments made by the one judge that found in his favor.
All right, so regardless of what happens, what are the implications of the case's outcome going to mean for the global church?
Yeah, so George Pell is, you know, the most senior ranking official in the Catholic Church to ever be accused of clergy abuse. So both church officials and victims advocates are all monitoring this very closely. If the appeal is heard and is upheld, he could walk out of jail a free man in 2 days' time, which is something that you know, his friends and advocates say is what they're cheering for. Others are saying, you know, this is a man that has gone through, you know, 2-3 trials, and you know, a lot is riding on this, and they're monitoring it nervously.
Right.
Pell was a senior official in the Vatican who was tasked with a lot of Pope Francis's reforms, and so if he ends up spending, you know, the next 6 years in jail, that casts a shadow on a lot of his work at the Vatican over the past 6 years, and not to mention back at home in Australia where he was a pivotal figure. So regardless of how you feel about him, a lot is riding on the next few days.
All right, the national correspondent for The Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, thanks so much for being here with us.
A pleasure.
All right, and still to come on Currents News, there are big changes involving St. Patrick's Day parades here and in Dublin. We'll tell you what they are.
Light in my darkness.
This police officer's song to God is igniting an online sensation. You'll hear more when we return. A week away from St. Patrick's Day, and parades across the Emerald Isle are canceled. Irish authorities making the change over fears of the coronavirus. Church officials say the Mass for the feast day will still take place. Mayor Bill de Blasio says he doesn't plan to cancel New York's parade, but the march in Boston is off. The virus outbreak is raising important issues for Catholics. Many center around the celebration of Mass and how to best confront the disease. Joining us now is Monsignor Guy Massey, pastor of Sacred Hearts and St. Stephen Church here in Brooklyn. Monsignor, thanks for joining us. The Diocese of Brooklyn is urging common sense, telling parishioners, yes, don't come to church if you're not feeling well. Net TV televises the Mass at 5 p.m. and again at 6:30 every day, Monday through Friday. But how does this work? Are people attending Mass if they're just watching it on television?
I think they're doing the best that they possibly can. I think if they are sick, remember, if a person is ill, you should stay home.
Right.
And you know, hopefully if you have Eucharistic ministers going out to them, that would be a good idea if that's possible, even if not on that particular Sunday, maybe on Tuesday, maybe on Monday, you know. But I think the person at home can do the best that he or she can possibly do by at least marking the day, listening to the readings, praying, and even making a spiritual communion while the Mass is going on.
What does that mean? How do you mean?
Well, because you can't receive sacramentally, you ask you ask Jesus to come into your heart, to come into your mind, come into your soul, to abide with you. in a spiritual way.
Okay. Now, this is not the first time the church has had to deal with a worldwide outbreak of disease, the Black Plague. There was the Spanish flu. It all changed the church so much. Talk a little bit about that.
They used to have, if you were fairly wealthy, you had your silver straw that you can take the Eucharist, you could take the precious blood with. That all stopped.
Wow.
And as a result, I think they stopped. There was a connection that they had made, because what did they know about how diseases are communicable? And they made a connection that perhaps having from the precious blood, maybe we should stop that. And so I think that carried over into what we had, and only until recently, the last 20, 25 years, that we have restored that. So that was one of the ways. We didn't have the sign of the peace for everyone at one time. Now we do.
Now, early in the newscast, we heard from Pope Francis that he's praying priests have the courage to go out and visit the sick. Isn't there a danger of priests becoming ill themselves?
Sure. But I also think that priests might know the protocol of what to touch, what not to touch, and to sanitize. I think that's a very important thing. Remember, a number of years ago, we were told this. We were told to wash our hands, and to wash our hands for a period of happy birthday. The thing I think you want to avoid is a panic. I think people who are compromised, people who are have respiratory ailments or pulmonary ailments, people who are elderly and have those things, people perhaps who have asthma, they have to watch very carefully. But I don't know whether or not all of us should at least be aware and take these common sense precautions.
Sure.
Those people have to be even more careful as we go through this time.
All right, you have a large and very tight-knit parish. How has your flock responded to this outbreak?
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, mass attendance on Sunday was normal. It's Lent, and so now we have Stations of the Cross. On Friday nights, we have scripture faith sharing right in the rectory, so that's kind of sitting at the tables, sharing the scripture and stuff like this.
Do you fear you won't be able to participate in these Lenten celebrations or traditions if this starts to get a little worse, or people get more scared?
I am concerned about that. I'm concerned. I read today or this morning in the New York Times that the nation of Italy has closed down, and that they actually stopped Sunday masses in the churches. Right. I said, oh my goodness, could this stop Easter? I would hope not, because Easter you get many people. So I don't know. I'm hoping the weather will change before Easter, and maybe this will be a little bit more contained.
Yeah, we can pray.
Yes.
Thank you, Monsignor Guy Massey, pastor of Sacred Hearts in St. Stephen Church in Brooklyn. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Finally tonight, he has the right to remain silent, but fortunately, he doesn't.
In my darkness, my strength when I'm weak.
This soulful singer is one of Richmond, Virginia's finest. The police officer posted this video of himself singing "The Best of Me," and it went viral, getting more than 1 million views on Facebook.
It really doesn't matter what you're going through. Like the song said, God sees the best in you.
And God is the reason why this cop is such a crooner. He says he started singing in the church choir when he was about 8 or 9 years old. Officer Mervyn Mayo says he posts videos all the time and had no idea this one would generate such a buzz. That is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.